Good afternoon, Senators.
Good afternoon.
We will go ahead and begin as it is 3 o'clock, and we want to honor your time and commitment to our meeting today. Welcome to all of you and to those who are tuning in online. As a reminder to any guests and those online for our bylaws, police staff senators who are present and in person are allowed to speak during our general body meetings. At 1:03, we'll call this meeting to order. Our agenda, of course, is going to start with our purpose, then our attendance report, quorum, and minutes. I think it's always important to start and ground us in our purpose. And remember that is to create an open forum, engage staff, explore solutions, promote a positive climate, campus climate, participate in service work, propose and support programs, and provide a vehicle to address issues, but not necessarily of the individual nature, but those of our constituents, providing a voice to the many individuals that compose staff at USC. Next, want to ask Secretary Taylor, have you completed your attendance roll call? Thank you. Parliamentarian McCormick, do we have a quorum present?
Yes.
Thank you. We also, Jessica Mackey sent out the minutes from last month, which was September. All senators should have reviewed those minutes. Are there any additions or revisions from last month's meeting minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Katie Anand, is there a second? Second from Cox. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Then the approval of the minutes is there. We'll begin now with Senate officer reports, then move into our guest speakers for today. If time, committee reports and the announcements in good of the order, and then adjournment. It is my pleasure this time to share information, opportunities, and celebrations with you. First of all, hopefully all of you got the email today about the master mobility plan that finally came out. Super excited about this. A consultant group has been hired. Vice President Reed is our representative from Staff Senate who will sit on this master mobility plan group. But please let all of your constituents know who may have praise or suggestions for the parking office, that they will have an opportunity to share those with this group the week of November the 3rd. There will be both not only survey opportunities, but focus group opportunities for those who'd like to possibly engage in person. And so please let them know that this will help not only look at what is currently available as far as parking, but looking into the future as well. Some other points of information to note. Sarah Kirby has been hired as Associate Vice President for Clinical Affairs as part of the new Neurological Hospital and Rehabilitation Center. Tiffany Foxworth is named Interim Vice President of Marketing as Dan Dillon is no longer with USC. Dr. Julian Williams was named Vice President for System Affairs and Community Engagement, moved from interim to the full position. Also wanted to let you know that the executive committee and I are going to begin to do some senator focus groups, starting with our larger units, those who represent many, many different units on campus, to gather information about best practices and how we can best support you all. So please look for emails about that as we want to dialogue with you all now that we're into October, well into the academic year, to see what's going really, really well and then what we can do to support you more. I also will be attending October 24th Board of Trustees meeting along with some of my executive committee colleagues. So want to continue our representation with the Board of Trustees. Wanted to let you know upcoming Staff Senate General Body speakers. Next month, we'll have the Director of Parking, Joe Favela, as well as the Executive Director of Community Engagement, Dr. Teresa Harrison. December, the University Architect, Garrett Bruner, will come talking about the master plan for the university, as well as the USC Alumni Chief Experience Officer, Jared Evans, will be here. February, we have slated for Dr. Amaritas, USC's president, to be here. If you have other thoughts or potential guests that you think would be valuable for this general body to hear, please let me or anybody on the executive committee know. And specifically for the Director of Parking, since that tends to be a very engaging topic, we're going to ask those individuals to submit questions ahead of time, just because it will give Director Favela an idea of where to direct his presentation. Jessica Mackey will send out that link probably tomorrow, if not before. Please engage your constituents talk amongst yourselves and submit those questions by the deadline so that we can make sure we can have those answered for you. He'll generally do Q&A as well, but there's not as much time for that, so he can maybe answer those in his presentation. We had Staff Senate Fireflies Night. It was a wonderful time for those of you who were able to attend. I asked those who did attend to complete a feedback survey. They did so, and from that information, we decided that it's not the right time to do a full USC staff night at the Fireflies, engaging all staff at this time, especially since there are a few other avenues that staff can partake in the Fireflies games. So we're going to reconsider that and look back at that at a time in the future. Also, just wanted to mention briefly South Carolina Executive Order number 202531 about telecommuting policies. I think this is something that everyone is very well aware of. Governor McMaster updated policies for all South Carolina agencies, state agencies that include USC, and that will essentially cause our telecommuting to remain the same as President Emeritus asked in July of 2025 with some required modifications. Please know that there are some questions around these deviations and what has to be reported to USC HR and state HR. Please know that Carolyn Agarty and her human resources team is working directly with state HR to figure out how to be in compliance, but also understanding how higher education institutions run. I'm working directly with her as well on that and advocating for us all. So please stay tuned for hopefully more information on that. And VP Agarty also promises soon to get to us information regarding how many individuals possibly have left the university, especially as staff are concerned, due to the telecommuting policy and wanting to make a change and continue to do so in telecommuting. So we'll have that for you in the future as well. Speaking of opportunities, hopefully everybody saw this email as well, that the USC employee survey next steps town halls are going to be happening very, very soon, 10 and at 2 p.m. They're going to be virtual and led by a moderator. They're going to talk about the survey results as well as next steps. I did find out that they will be recorded. So if you have constituents who will not be able to attend, they will be recorded and posted so that they can find out that information as well. This will talk about the overall impact of what was surveyed last spring. And then later, there will be college and division level overviews with employees relating to those particular units. After the dissemination of all these results, there'll be university-wide and division level action planning committees where this information will turn into action items that will hopefully improve the employee experience at USC or enhance what's already going well. Wanted to mention the McCausland Ed Connect Symposium, which is Thursday, November the 6th. It's going to feature a keynote address by the individual there and talk about workplace culture, communication, and civility. Looks like a great opportunity. We'll send this link out as well if it's something that you would like to attend and something that would interest you or some of your constituents, please know that it is there. Also, if you'd like to nominate someone for the MLK Social Justice Award, this is a wonderful opportunity to recognize individuals who have actively exemplified the philosophies of Dr. King. So please know this will be sent out to you as well so that you can nominate somebody who is worthy. Also wanted to mention again the opportunity of the Homecoming on the Horseshoe, that there's a discount for those individuals who are in Staff Senate who would like to attend. This has already been sent out and will be sent out again. And then also, there's a wonderful sheet at your desk that will be mentioned again about volunteer opportunities for you and your constituents to volunteer. Lots this semester. The next one coming up, I do believe, is Cocky's Reading Express. There's the QR hand on the handout that you can volunteer or go to the link. You get a wonderful t-shirt. And so please, if this is something that you would like to do, or there are other opportunities in service which you or those in your unit would like to volunteer for, please make sure you do so. Lots and lots of opportunities. Celebrations. Wanted to start with the 2025 State of the University Address. If you were unable to hear President Emeritus, he gave a wonderful shout out to staff, and thanks to Michaela Taylor, I wanted you all to hear. So first time in a while that I've heard such a direct shout out for staff, and so we're really appreciative of that and that recognition. Speaking of, we want to celebrate. We have a date for Staff Appreciation Day 2026. Woo! So hopefully all of you got that. It's going to be Thursday, May the 14th, 2026, with the Staff Excellence Award ceremony happening the day after, Friday, May the 15th. So more to come on both of these, but please go ahead and reserve this time on your calendar. Also wanted to thank everybody and celebrate those who were able to represent us at the USC Wellness Expo. Just two pictures there of a wonderful day. Even though rain kind of tempered some individuals coming out, it was great to see fellow staff who stopped by our table and asked what it is that we do and how they can be a part of that, as well as sharing their input. So those of you who were able to volunteer, thank you so much for giving your time. Also want to shout out to our social media team for USC, woohoo, who are #1 in Quid's annual higher education social media engagement report, I do believe for the second year. So congratulations to all of our communications folks who helped make that possible and represent us so well on social media. And then hot off the press, if you did not see this happened this morning. David and Nicole Tepper, who own the Carolina Panthers, are now named Department of Sport and Entertainment Management in the College Hospitality, Retail, and Sport Management. So all of our wonderful folks in HRSM who belong to this program, they now have philanthropic donors who are funding not only some professorships, but continuing to fund scholars who are Tepper scholars in this particular program. So this is a wonderful, wonderful thing for this particular program, as well as the College of HRSM. And it was neat to be able to celebrate with them. Also wanted to mention too, as I told you earlier, we have the HR ability to electronically send somebody your gratitude, but I also think it's a dying art and important to let them know in handwriting as well. So they are finally in. Garnet and Grape cards are down here. There are 4 choices. Please consider taking some, recognizing some of your constituents who are wonderful at what they do. Or if you have one that you would like to come from me or the executive committee, if you'll email me that information, happy to send one for you. But they are down in the front. Please use them as often as you need to recognize those constituents who go out of their way to do wonderful things for you in a card form. So again, right down here in the front. All of these are ways that we can continue to connect, empower, and lead, which is our theme for 25-26 Staff Senate, of which you're doing amazing work. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of our 2 guest speakers today. And this is the first time that he is joining Staff Senate, so we're really excited to welcome Brice, the Vice President for Information Technology and the CIO, who's going to tell us a little bit about AI and what's happening on our campus.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate the chance to be here and look forward to a good conversation. Also have Liz Shirkey with me. Some of you know Liz. Liz has been our face about AI for several months now, and she can definitely answer any questions that I can't answer. But what I want to do is just kind of fly through some slides that I've provided to Executive Council and to the President and to the Board, and have a good discussion with this group about those. So let's kind of jump in. So here are a few things I'll talk about. The progress today, what we're doing with governance, upcoming, and then a board endorsement that they had asked to do. So of course, we are not an ChatGPT only university. We are not a ChatGPT only university, but through guidance from the leadership at the university, the president elected to sponsor the funding of ChatGPT for all. So it was an access question, it was a leadership question, and it was an opportunity question that the board took on. But that doesn't mean that that we want to support just ChatGPT. There are other LLMs, there are other markets. We don't even know a year from now who's going to be left standing, right? It's changing as we go. And I think it's important for us to keep that in mind. But we've dove in. ChatGPT, first in the state. I hear there's another school wants to be second in the state. Woohoo, they get to be second. Yeah, oh, good for them. But we're at least 16,000 now that have signed up. That's a nice mix between students and employees, faculty, and staff. We are positioned as a national leader with OpenAI. That's a good thing and a challenging thing. So OpenAI looks to us with their questions about how is ChatGPT being used by our faculty, by an enterprise like the university, and by our students and staff. It's great. But we're also listening to you, we're listening to the students, we're listening to the faculty about what you like about it or don't like about it. And we can take that right back to ChatGPT. And it's changed. They have actually changed their offering to all of higher ed because of input that USC has provided. So thank you to you guys, because I know some of you are part of that. Definitely thanks to our faculty and our students who have been great participants and have provided good data. So we are positioned as a leader, and we could, at some point, Liz or I could get any of you would like to know, we dive in some deep issues and opportunities that's really opened up. And hot off the press, as of about Friday afternoon sometime, the advanced models, GPTs, have been turned on. So if you have played with ChatGPT, we have 5.0, unlimited 5.0. You can do anything you want with it. Dive in, use it a million times. Students can use it a million times. But what wasn't turned on were some of the more advanced features like image generation or even the research GPTs. Guess what? They're there. Thank you to Liz and team for doing that. This was a negotiation with ChatGPT. We talked to OpenAI about it and said, wait a minute, when our students get more out of their personal version of this than they're getting out of the enterprise version, that's not right. And they've listened. And so we've opened it up, and we've got credits to use. What we've asked, and we hope you'll encourage those around you, is if you want to use these credits for advanced reasons, we'd love to know what you're doing. And we'd like to be able to have you just be able to share the results and the benefit that comes from that. Not because we want to know what you're doing, because we don't want to know what you're doing, but what we want to do is be able to guide the university in decisions that it will make in the future about the use of ChatGPT, or really, for that matter, any AI. And what better way to do it than to take actual uses that the students and the faculty are using to help guide those decisions. So we have a support infrastructure. The president listened to the needs and said, not only will we pay for the licenses, but we'll provide some resources. And so we have 3 new AI educators that 2 are on board as of a couple of weeks ago, and 1 comes on board in a week or so. And they're busy working with some of you, working with HR to develop educational materials that we can come into schools, into colleges, into departments, and spend some time helping to educate. I'm looking for a leader that can help pull all this together. So if you've dealt much with AI, you realize it's only as good as the data that's underneath it. And we need to do a better job with our data at the university. And that's not surprising. Every university has challenges with that, but we've got to do a better job with our data. And so I want somebody to come in and take a position that I've kept open for a while, and to tie all of that together with the AI underpinnings. And then finally, we received funding also from the president for developers. Now, those are harder to find. So if you know anybody that's an AI developer, would you please send them our way? And I probably share too much, but it's an interesting challenge. A really good AI developer that will work for us, but they don't want to move from wherever they live. And so, you got that little challenge. But we're working on it. So if you know anybody, we'd love to have them join us. Please point them our way. The student interns are a really good opportunity because these developers and the educators, we will be opening up more opportunities for students to be experts, to be champions, to help not just students, but others. What great experience for our students who are already, in a lot of ways, experts in this space. Our research computing division has already opened up kind of a portal for research faculty to use, not just to get to ChatGPT, but to get to many of the other large language models that the faculty want to use for research. And some of those we can keep local, which is really great. And others, it's a portal that gives us access. And then finally, we're collaborating with our friends on the north side of the state and down in Charleston as the research universities, as well as the state. The state is keenly interested in how can we not divide up the way AI is supported among all our research universities, but collaborate across the state. The good news is the state, the people in the buildings just right next to us, they understand, they don't know what we do, but they understand it's different than what the state needs. And they also understand that research universities' needs for AI are much bigger than state government needs. And so the concept of our research universities leading the charge for the state of South Carolina for use of AI in partnership with state government and with industry is the way to go. So we'll see. President's helping us negotiate that. We're doing a lot of work with leadership, both at those universities and at the state, to see if we can pull this off as a collaboration. Now, I don't know what you guys think about it, but we're with the best place be for the statewide AI data center and data center service. I mean, I guess you could put it on the edges of the state, but why would you do that? It ought to be in the middle, right? There's some value to being in the middle. So anyway, that's our goal, is hopefully to make that happen. It's going to take a little time, but we're working on it. You may have seen some of these, and Liz could talk in grand detail, but if you go into your ChatGPT account and you look at other GPTs, just click on the left, other GPTs, and you'll see these. So these are custom GPTs that some of you, I won't ask you to raise your hands, but I bet you some of you have developed, and others across the institution, other staff and faculty and even students have developed these different custom GPTs that do specialized work. It looks at your FAQs and gives a student or someone the opportunity to ask a question. As you know, using an AI tool, it's just conversational. So you can ask the question in a conversational way, and it points to different things. So Student Success Center has Cocky Scholar. Cocky Scholar is the #1 used custom GPT out there. I don't know if you know about it, but it is for those off hours when the Student Success Center's doors aren't open, that students have a place to go and ask an academic question about their programs. Who would have thought? It's very popular, right? We've got a civil engineering class that has a GPT. There are 800. I put that in there as a reminder. We have over 800 at this point. The University 101, some of you may be a part of that, has a module associated with this. And then finally, Darla has a faculty member who developed a program that OpenAI picked up and identified as a top 30 in the country. And so it's getting great visibility for the institution. Now, there are 800 there, so if you'd like to go in, click other GPTs, and you can take a look at all the other ones there. You may want to do them yourself. I mentioned the AI Hub. I hope you found the Garnet Foundry, AI Garnet Foundry website. It's a great one-stop shop. The goal is anything you need for AI should be there. Policies are there, training resources, access to the different tools. How do I use ChatGPT? Blah, blah, you go down the list. And it's also targeted for students and faculty and staff. I've mentioned Boodlebox because that's another AI tool that this building, HRSM, was the first to try. And we've listened and have been negotiating with Boodlebox to create a mechanism that you and others, faculty, can buy, just buy it yourself, straight up. I don't know if it's on the line yet. I think there's still some legal wranglings, but it's coming. So and then there'll be others. It's Claude. We reached out to Claude because Claude's very popular with some of our research faculty. And we had a great conversation, didn't we, Liz?
We did.
And we were really excited. We were going to get licensed Claude, so you can go in and buy Claude for the $20 a month or whatever it is. So then we had another meeting scheduled and they didn't show up. They ghosted us in the meeting. And then, maybe it's just timing. Maybe they're California time, and we rescheduled. So my office reached out to try to reschedule. Didn't get any feedback. So whoever that was disappeared, and they provided no other contact at Claude. So we've tried every avenue we can to get Claude to talk to us about how we can buy it for our faculty and our staff. So you can tell this is a very fast moving industry. And when one of the most popular ones outside of ChatGPT is, it doesn't even have somebody we can talk to. It's funny, Liz and I'll be at EDUCAUSE. Some of you know what that is. We'll be at EDUCAUSE in a couple of weeks. We're hoping that Claude's there just so we can, grab somebody and say, you need to be our contact. We need some help here. So you can tell there's things to do and a lot of work still to go on. Governance. The Board of Trustees really was keen on what governance would look like for this. Now, governance is an interesting word. Governance sounds like it's oppressive, but it really means how can we make sure that we're using these AI tools in an effective way, that we have contracts to protect our students and our faculty from loading information inappropriately. You could put, sensitive data out into a chat somewhere and it'd be exposed to the world. It could be intellectual property that you or your faculty have developed and you put it up there just to have a look, run it through a model, and then, oops, you just exposed it to the world. And guess what? That's not your intellectual property anymore. So, the board wants us to really make sure we understand how to govern AI. So what we're thinking, and the approach that the board is buying and agreed with, is we're going to use this purchasing process that has been cultivated over the last couple of years. That's an IT purchasing process that will then has pushed AI into it. So it'll give us the same mechanism, hopefully a fast turnaround to make those things happen. So small stuff, small AI stuff, it just flows through. But things that require some integration or sensitive data or will need to go through a little more consideration. The strategic direction, of course, would be led by executive folks at the cabinet level, just to kind of put some guardrails around. I'll give you an example of a guardrail that we're still trying to figure out. And I love feedback. Liz and I would love feedback on this one. All right, so we have 800 GPTs, right? Custom GPTs. We had a student government leader. Wow, were you this smart when you were an undergraduate? She's a junior doing political science and something. And she's developed her own ChatGPT, her own GPT that was in service to the students. It's awesome. So, but here's the question. Do we just expose that? Do we put it on the web and go at it? Everybody use it? Well, what if it points at data that's not correct? So you've got this challenge of we can all build a GPT, but how do we move it into something that has the good housekeeping seal of approval that you can trust the data? So there's a challenge there. So we're trying to figure that out. If you have any ideas about that, we'd love to hear. We're also looking at what some of our peers around the country are doing as well. I put this one in just because everybody needs to know that the state's very interested in what we were doing with AI. And so it's not quite slowed down what we're doing, but it's added a lot of work. So if you are trying to buy an AI tool that is over that number, and even if it's for research, the state's asked to review it. So we're not holding it up. We'll make sure you're aware, just so you know that there's another level of review on AI. And then, of course, we're giving the board quarterly updates, so they'll be pleased with where we are. Okay, so what's coming up? Well, we're going to continue to try to stay in the lead. We're going to focus on governance. We're going to focus on the training and education, that resources were provided. And we're going to focus on long-term ERP strategy. One of the things the board really liked was an AI first strategy related to ERP. Now, think about down the road. I'm going to talk about today or tomorrow, but at some point, please, I hope nobody has some nightmares over this, but at some point, PeopleSoft will expire down the road. I know. And at some point, Banner will expire down the road. Ooh. Now, tomorrow, not next year, but we have to be thinking about when does the university, I know it's going to fall on all of us, isn't it? When will we start the planning and the plan, the laying out a direction, getting approval from the administration and from the board about that move? So the board said, okay, we're good with that. We want you to do that, but don't leave AI out of it. So their direction is you don't do an AI plan and strategy for the institution and a new ERP strategy for the institution, but put the two things together. Okay, well, duh. That's why they're paid the big bucks, right? I mean, it's a smart move. We'll continue to roll out training and promptathons and hopefully some on-site activities in November that we can work with you, with the faculty, and certainly with the students. We've got some agents that, or at least some custom GPTs that will be rolled out for efficiencies. We got a P card, Chat GPT. I know. I shouldn't announce that, should I?
No, definitely should have known.
It's not quite ready, but if Liz could demo it for you, you would go, yes. So it's close, and we're not doing that without procurement and legal and how about that? Wouldn't that be awesome? You can just ask it a question about, can I buy this with my P card? Or how this or this, or what's my buying name? Yeah, you don't believe it, too.
No.
Yeah. That was the answer no. It is programmed in just to say no. But that's an example, right, of these kind of things. But you guys are in tune with AI. I know that. So you can see the potential value that could do, because it's noise, right? It's just noise that we have to deal with all the time, and it can provide some benefits. I wanted to show you this. This is, and we'll put it, it'll be on the ultimately on the board website, but we're going to put it on the Garnet website. This is the endorsement that the board voted on at the September board meeting that they'd asked for. In the report that I got to participate on with other board members and a few of the administration, one of the things the board said is we want to have a statement about how we want to see the university move forward with AI. So this is that statement. And I think it's pretty strong. It's not as strong as I wanted, because I want dollar signs tied to it, but it's strong. And I think, I appreciate it. There's a real interest, serious interest, in they're putting their money where their mouth is for USC and you and your wonderful faculty and those super smart students to be in the lead. And they're putting their money where their mouth is. And they're even doing it with a very bold statement that they passed as a resolution just a month ago, less than a month ago. Okay. Those were the highlights that I wanted to share. And happy to answer questions, and then Liz will help me if I get stopped. Yes.
Hi, so I'm Senator Richards and a colleague at HRSM. So you know, I probably have 51 million questions, but I'm limited.
Okay.
Because I probably can email it. But my main question is with agent.
Yeah.
What is going to be the capacity for us as individual employees to be able to create and then employ them? Because I think right now we have been in conversation about what that looks like for us in our everyday work. I know you may have some general ones available, but how are we able to create them?
It's a great question. It kind of ties back to my governance question. So right now, you can do it on your own. Right this minute, you can do it. You can build your own agent, your own custom chat for whatever topic you want to build it on. And of course, our educators, as they come on board, will be providing here's how you do it. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Once you do it, it's not super complicated. But what you have to do is you have to name it. You have to point it at the data that you want it to analyze, and then you need to train it with the questions, the types of questions that you want to be answered, right? And it'll actually give you some examples of what kind of questions. So you can do it today. Absolutely do it today. The question then would be, well, you do it and you call the D, and the D calls me. Okay, well, I want to put it on the front page of the HRSA website. So now we've got to make sure that we have what's the control mechanism to make sure, not that you would do it wrong, you would do it right, but the data, where's that data coming from? I trust that if you've done it as an FAQ, I think we can trust that. It's like your faculty are taking their own information for a course and they're putting it in Blackboard, or they're loading it into ChatGPT and forming a tutor for students. Well, could it be any more trustworthy than that? That data is trustworthy. If it's going into ChatGPT in a general sense, oh, I have a question related. Do you know where the 2 biggest places the data sources, that all the AI tools, but let's use ChatGPT, the 2 biggest sources of data that ChatGPT uses to come up with its answers? There's 2. There's a whole bunch of places it goes, your websites and everything. Can you guess? Think about the web. What are the 2 biggest sources that you would look at to try to train to get answers to particular subjects? Well done. Wikipedia, number 2. What's number 1? This will scare you. Close. It does hit social media, and that's down the list a little. Reddit. I heard it, no. It's funny, back in my last school, we had, long ago, we had problems with Wi-Fi, and the trendy phrase on Reddit was Wi-Fi sucks. And so, oh, good, that's in there now too, right? So you see, my point is, if we're pointing to that data, then, if it's a serious topic that you want to make sure the answers are correct, then you're going to want to point at your data and not at Reddit.
But if it's internal and it's not going to be public facing, it sounds like we will face less hurdles. So for
Absolutely.
like a team of people.
Yes, today you can do that, right, Liz? Today you can do that and expose it to your team.
Stephanie, you were on my list of people to call, you're on my list of people to call about building the GPT, because I think that capability is gonna meet your need more.
I think I'm
than
done.
What we've been doing before, so you're on my list.
I think we got time for one more question.
Okay.
I was a part of a presentation at the grants,
Yeah.
conference they had, like a couple weeks back. Are there any other softwares that you're looking at, like Microsoft Power Automate or Appen AI or anything like that?
Well,
To streamline.
of course, Copilot's out there, right? We all can use Copilot. You probably already use Copilot for some of this, because it's nice. You can point to your OneDrive, you can point to your email, that sort of thing. The VPR's office has developed a little proposal development chat that will help you develop a proposal for a particular topic. So there's others. There's a lot emerging. This is very powerful, but it also could get away from us if we don't. I really mean we. I mean, we in this room have a lot of responsibility to help guide our units, our divisions, our colleges with the proper use. That's why we want some educators. And at some point, you should ask Liz to send an educator over and to talk to a group of your folks, your colleagues in your school, or your college, or your department. Are you excited? Are you guys using it?
Yes.
Yes. Are you ready to have image, Jen?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I was, but you know, OpenAI, they tripped. I mean, they made that mistake and we helped them learn that that was a mistake. Of course, students yelling and writing articles in the paper and all that, that will help too. Yeah, man, I'll get out of your way.
No, I appreciate that. Just want to make sure we have time for everything. Please join me in thanking DP. We appreciate you coming to expertise.
You bet. Enjoyed it. And of course, Liz and I are always available if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Next, we have our second guest speaker who is here to talk to you all about her last particular year and the different individuals that in totality, the issues that she came across and what that may mean for concerns of staff across the board. So please help me welcome a friend of the Staff Senate, and that is our Ombuds person, Dr. Robynn Pease.
I'm very excited to be with you here today to share with you data from our first annual report. And this annual report will be available online beginning tomorrow morning. And so for the information that I'm sharing with you today, please direct everyone directly to the annual report. For you all today, I'm going to share highlights, information from that report, but I'm also going to give you all a little bit more context as to why I chose some of the data points for this report and a little bit more about some of the activity in the office. But before I get started, I do want to thank you, and I want to thank the many stakeholders on this campus for your support of this office, including Caroline Argardi and the HR units with whom I often interact with on behalf of staff concerns. That kind of support really helps make the Ombuds office successful. So here we go. Oops. All right, so I've had from the launch of the office, January 16, 2024 to the end of this past prior academic year, June 30th, 2025, a total of 162 consultations. And I'll let you know how I define that in a little bit later. But among those 162 visitors, 69% were comprised of employees, both salaried and hourly. 15% were classified as supervisors, and that's really just 25. And 25, and then 15% came to me, and they were serving in the role of department leader or administrator. And then I had about 1%, just below 5 calls or queries from outside the university. As you can see by the numbers, 49% of these visitors were self-referred, while 22 were really encouraged to come by a coworker or colleague. 11% were referred by their supervisors, and 12% of the visitors were referred by HR employee relations, organizational professional development, or an HR contact within a specific work unit. And 6% were referred by the Staff Senate. And so I really want to encourage you to continually promote the existence of the Staff Ombuds office. It does make a difference. 2 weeks ago, I saw a visitor who learned about the office through Staff Senate communication. She kept the information in her head. A year later, she came because she was facing some concerns in the workplace she wanted to discuss with someone. So when we look at the activity within the Staff Ombuds office, the bulk of the work focuses around that individual consultation. And for data reporting purposes, I'm defining individual consultation as the first time a visitor is coming to the office, but also returning visitors with brand new concerns. And this past time period, I had fewer than 5 individuals come to me, return to the office with new concerns. Also, another key component of what I do is informal mediation. So this past year, I saw 5 different pairs of individuals for mediation. One pair, we did mediation twice. And interestingly, each pair was an individual to supervisor relationship with the employee initiating the mediation. And lastly, I will continue to develop trainings and do presentations about the office as requested. This past period, I rolled out the multi-generational workshop. There's actually going to be a little webinar through OPD about the multi-generational workshop on Thursday. When visitors come to the office, sometimes they're just there to query about some overarching general concerns about policy and process, maybe about the university culture or environment, but most likely they're coming to the office because there's some discomfort or conflict in relationship to others. So for this data point, I wanted to point out that of the 162 visitors, 46% had concerns with their direct supervisor, while 39% had concerns about the department leader. So not necessarily the immediate supervisor, but the leader at the top, right? And then 6% had issues with a coworker or colleague. When you look closely at the 25 supervisors who came to the office, 48% of them had concerns with their supervisor, the person above them, most likely the department chair or VP or whatever. And then 32% had concerns with an employee. Of the directors or administrators that came to the office, 70% had concerns with an employee. I thought this was pretty interesting for me because it wasn't necessarily a concern with their direct reports, those supervisors, but rather employees within the department. How do we handle this problem? It's been going on for a long time. What can we do to address it kind of a situation? So another key point of reporting data out from about the activity in the Ombuds office is trying to figure out, well, how do we categorize the concerns? How we start to organize all the different concerns that come to an Ombuds office. So these categories draw specifically from the International Ombuds Association categories of concern. They have a very, very robust definitions for different categories Ombud practitioners can use. And so these are the ones that I was concerned about when collecting data from the visitors who came here. And you'll see that there were 94 concerns associated with the evaluative category. And I'll share more about that in my next slide, but just for right now, this is really the category that pertains to the employee-supervisor relationship and the department climate. Followed by that at 86 is the category called organization and leadership. And this concern has to do with the organizational leadership, right, of the division, of that larger unit overseeing those individual departments. And I'll talk a little bit more in the next slide about what is entailed in that one. It's probably no surprise that there were 61 concerns about career progression, not just in regards to an employee supervisor, but rather some of the concerns about progression had to do with how do I move up the ladder in the university system? How do I talk to my supervisor and get a good reference? They might be mad that I'm going to go. How do I have those kinds of conversations? 41 concerns about microaggression, 33 around conflicts or discomfort with peers or colleagues, coworkers, 32 around physical or psychological unsafety or safety. And for IOA reporting purposes, work-life stress is embedded in that as well. And then there were 23 concerns around standards of conduct, values and ethics of the organization as a whole. And then 20 around compensation and benefits. And I labeled this as a systemic pattern of concern later on, and I'll tell you why, even though it's at 20, why I chose to do that. And then we had just 2 concerns around compliance. Because the evaluative category is so prevalent, I wanted to share a little bit about the top 5 concerns with subcategories within this broader evaluative category that were prevalent during this past reporting period. And probably it's no surprise to you, communication is always an ongoing challenge. So there were 64 concerns about that. And then, of course, 55 concerns about that supervisor effectiveness. Is this supervisor a good leader? Is this person transparent, understandable? Do I know what to do, what to expect under his or their leadership, etc.? But then how interesting, after that, 51 concerns around respect, feelings of, am I being respected within that workplace? 44 around issues around performance evaluations. And then at 42, assignments and department climate. What is the work distribution, my workload like? That's assignments. And then what does the department climate look like? I think it's also worth noting that 30% of the visitor concerns related to both categories of evaluative and organizational leadership. So when you think about it, the organizational leadership really drives the strategic and technical management, positional power of authority, communication, restructuring, relocation, change management, priority setting, and resource allocation, which then in turn influences supervisor effectiveness. So from that perspective, it's perhaps not surprising that the 2 are connected for many of our visitors. If conflict is unresolved, it can generate risk for the institution as well as the individual. So I do like to keep track of risk and report that out. This year, so 41 of the 162 visitors, 41% identified at least 1 risk in regards to the conflict that they were dealing with. Nobody in the past time period threatened a lawsuit in my office, but 2 people said they might not comply with a policy or process. 35 expressed resignation. If the conflict isn't resolved or dealt with, I'm going to resign. And most of all, 61 expressed how the conflict was affecting their personal health and well-being. And how does that show up? I can't sleep at night. My stomach aches. I'm depressed. I'm seeking outside mental health therapy. I'm going home yelling at my family. I'm taking it out on my family. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go to work in the morning. I'm not as productive as I'd like to be. And then I'm taking intermittent FMLA. I'm taking weeks of FMLA just to manage the stress. So another way that the Ombuds office can be useful is to help people kind of manage that stress until there is a solution or they've come to some type of resolution for themselves about it. Lower the temperature, kind of de-escalate the risk as people get through it so that they can be productive and have some sense of personal health and well-being. So I mentioned systemic patterns of concern. So this is where I was really looking, in my mind, I was like, okay, if there are visitors from 5 different divisions/colleges visiting the office with a very similar concern or set of concern, then I'm going to identify that as a systemic pattern of concern. And so for this time period, unclear classification and compensation processes came to me in very similar ways from 7 different divisions/colleges. And the overall sense was just very frustrated with the unclear communication, understanding about what the process looked like, who to talk to about it, where to go for information, just a lot of frustration. And I do believe Caroline Argardi already is aware of this and will probably be talking to you in greater detail about this in a later Staff Senate presentation in the academic year. Another concern is the perceived conflict that folks saw when the HR contact for their particular unit serves in a dual role. And most popular was if the HR person was also the budget officer, or if the HR contact was also assigned to be the executive administrator to the department head or the dean. You know, the employee's like, how can I trust that they're going to be honest with me and support and advocate for my needs, right? They're going to automatically or unconsciously even err on the side of that positional power of authority, right? And so again, Caroline Argardi, that I've already, shared those concerns with her. So that's out there as well. And then, of course, there's the return to, what I call it, return to campus office mandate, which, remember, I was collecting data till the end of June 30th. So I had visitors from 6 different divisions/colleges visit me, and the issues around that visitors shared with me, what that pending change in the telecommuting arrangements, how that would impact recruitment and retention of employees within their units, excellent customer service delivery, operational efficiencies, as well as work-life balance. And I did compile 7 different examples of what that looks like for our employees. And so if you want me to share with you informally what those look like at the end of during the Q&A, I'm happy to provide you with those examples. Oh, and then lastly, I did want to let you know that I do continue to take group concerns up to the leaders within the particular hierarchy. And so this past year, I did that on behalf of 3 concerns around supervisor, department head, effectiveness. 1 around some communication that connected to a potential policy violation, and then 1 related to a systemic, related to a new mandate and its impact on on a very large place within our university. And this was particularly important for the people who wanted that Ombuds support because of the way that the organizational leadership, the communication, right, within that division/college existed, right? So there was a lot of discomfort and need to have the Ombuds come and voice those concerns as well. So I do have a post-visitor online survey available, but I'm really horrible at letting people know about it after they visit with me. You'll see it embedded under my contact information in my email signature. You'll also see it on the first page towards the bottom of the Staff Ombuds website. So there's only 7 questions with an additional space for comments. It goes to the communication folks, who then report to me just the numbers and the feedback, so it remains anonymous to me. And so, of course, if I'm not promoting it, I only had 4 responses for this past time period. 3 folks rated the office. They were very satisfied with the service. 1 person dissatisfied. And then the comments really just demonstrate that the service is appreciated. Goals for next year, the website resources are already up. The ones that I provided on my site are intended to be complementary to what already exists in other parts of the university. And the heavy lift really is the establishment of a university ombuds charter. And that is really to sustain the viability, to sustain and ensure the viability of the ombuds office. And I would be very, very happy to come back at a later date and share with you what I mean by all of that, because this is really, I think, key to a successful long-term ombuds, a robust, successful ombuds office that helps ensure that informal confidentiality. Also, just a heads up, the training for this year I'm developing is dignity and its essential role in resolving conflict in response to the prevalence of the ongoing need for more tweaking around, understanding around those difficult relationships. And this session, again, intended to be complementary to the already robust training that takes place on campus. This one's going to delve into a little bit about how our brains are kind of wired to lean us toward conflict and how we can rewire and utilize the brain that leans more into more dialogue and inclusive conversations and relationships. And then lastly, I just wanted to give you a heads up that as of July 1, I was taking visitors from the first data for the first round, I'm continuing staying in contact, or there are 15 different people are still on my radar from the end of June 30th because their conflict has yet to be resolved, and that the next round of data collection will cover the specific academic year. And I'm going to include the number of returning visitors with new concerns. I've already seen 6 returning visitors with new concerns since July 1. So I think that's a good sign of the helpfulness of the Ombuds office. I'll also include the number of consultations per your unique visitor per new concern, as well as the number of outreach activities per visitor per concern, because it'll then give you a better idea of how much work goes on, how much work I do in contacting others, supporting them, consultations with each visitor or with a lot of visitors. So you get an idea of the volume of work that takes place in the office. And then lastly, value, the value of data is in the eye of the stakeholders. So if I want this data to be meaningful for you, so review the report sometime in the next few weeks, share it with your folks. And then if there's a data point that you would like me to collect, or if there's something that you'd like me to put on my radar for next year, for this year, just let me know. And that ends my presentation. I know it's a lot, so but I welcome any question that you or comment that you might have. Yes.
So now that you have a lot of data, some of us had to come to our colleges very early on. So if we actually would come back again, would some of this be presented?
Yeah, we could talk. I would be very open. I hadn't thought of that, so thank you. And I would be very open to doing many informal conversations about data from the Ombuds office. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Any other questions? Or I know we're nearing the end of the time together. Yes, Megan?
Yeah, what does it look like with sharing your information? Is it just to Vice President Agardi in HR realm? Or do you get to talk with the cabinet or extended cabinet at all? What's going on?
I shared this with Anna Edwards. I've shared the report with Stephanie Means in the Provost office, HR, so Staff Senate. So those were my stakeholders at this point in time. Maybe I welcome suggestions. I thought that would be a first good start. And then, but you all, I think, are the most robust group of all. So I really wanted to provide you with more detail. If the Ombuds office saw faculty, students, and staff I would probably, start I don't want to report divisions in colleges because then might be calling out specific little units and potentially visitors. So we have to be informal, but oftentimes in ombuds offices, you would have, for example, I could have a meeting with a dean of a college and say informally, here are some of the issues and patterns that have occurred among your people. And usually over time, we'll know where the pockets of ineffective leadership are, where trouble is. I'm starting to collect that information now. And believe me, I saw people from all over the place this year. I keep track of where people come from, and the visitors were all over the place, even Greenville, College of Med. I mean, different colleges, different divisions. So I think that's good because that means that the word's getting out, it's available. Any other? Yes.
This just kind of pops in my head a little bit. So if say, and most of the conflicts that you've had factored around like a supervisor and an employee, what if you had an issue that involved a student and an employee? Would that then would you then tie in with like the student ombuds person to kind of?
Yes, there have been several instances where there have been faculty, staff, and then there have been instances come my way with students. So if it's like student employment, I might handle it, but if it's definitely related to student academic success or around that, then that definitely goes to the Office of Student Advocacy. Yeah, I hear a lot from grad students. I love working with them, but I stay in my lane. Anybody else?
Any other questions for Dr. Pease? All right, please join me in thanking her for her work. We appreciate how you advocate on our behalf. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, I'm not supposed to be an advocate. Let the data speak for itself.
That's exactly right. Well noted. Thank you so much. We do have time for committee reports, but really in the form of announcements or information that you'd like the body to know. The secretary hopefully has received every committee's reports, and those can be reflected in the minutes. And so we will go through membership. Anything you'd like to?
A few things, but I think Michaela has everything, so she can put it in the minutes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Communications.
Yeah, pretty much. I would just mention the one thing, that I'm working on getting everybody's photos taken care of for the website. I've reached out to pretty much everybody, I think. So if you haven't heard from me, maybe check your email or just reach out to me directly. But everything else should happen.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. Staff policy and well-being.
Michaela has most of the updates that, as well as our updates from Bright Horizons. The only other thing that I'm not sure if we put it in there or not, but our Lydia meeting with law enforcement, we have the contact information for Sergeant Mark Tedlaw, I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name, about doing department meetings with a little pressure, and those are like 15-minute little update for department. So if there's interest, he's the point of contact.
Awesome. Questions? Yeah. Professional development.
Not really anything concrete to report right now. We're gonna have another, we had a little robust conversation at our last committee meeting and looking forward to having another one of those this coming Tuesday, or lunch, I guess, a week from today. But we're looking forward to hopefully honing in on our direction from there. And we certainly are very eager for those town halls next week. That's gonna be very exciting.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Community projects.
But
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bylaws.
We have all of our updates, but just a reminder, like the chair and co-chair has an email today, so if you can, please complete that form.
Awesome. Staff appreciation and recognition.
Just excited we have a date for the staff appreciation. That's it.
And one thing I did not mention during my announcements that I failed to do, and I apologize, we have also received our full funding from the president's office. So we are good to go there. So we're looking for, I'll use Dr. Pease's word, robust staff appreciation day again. So we're excited for that and thank the president's office for that. Scholarship and fundraising.
Built by the Strong Term Enrollment Center. It'll start at 4 o'clock. It's Thursday, before Thanksgiving, so the week before Thanksgiving. There'll be more information coming out about that really soon, now that we have the date finalized, so, keep an eye out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now that all the committees have, and thank you so much again for getting your information in, announcements go to the order. Anyone in the body? Yes, please.
And this is something that I'm gonna send out some follow-up information on tomorrow because it's far more than I could possibly discuss in this setting. But just wanted to flag something for y'all. One of the initiatives that I am now in charge of as part of my new job is the Leadership Institute, which is a 4-day immersive leadership development experience for students. This is something that's been going on in campuses around the country for over 30 years now. Rex Oliver actually sits on their board of trustees, so it's something that once he got here, he wanted to make sure he brought to USC, and we're really trying to grow awareness of this program and as investment from as many different corners of campus as possible. So I'm going to send out some information in our teams tomorrow, and would love for you all to flood my form stack with nominees that would love to be a part of this program, which will be at the tail end of winter break this year for 4 days leading into the move-in ahead of spring. So any great students who you think would love that, please send them my way. I look forward to reaching out to them. Thank you. Yes, we actually have already, we just opened applications last week and we already have some of each who applied. So.
Well, that's a great question and a great opportunity. Thank you. Any other announcements go to the order? All right. Remember to go out and connect, empower, and lead as we continue forward. Please again remind all of your constituents about the 2 town hall options that are coming up next week. I think it'll be a wonderful time to listen, and I do believe there will be the opportunity to ask questions if you or your constituents choose to do so, as you hear the information that we can all take in and bring back and discuss here when we are all together. Thank you for your time and attention today. A lot of great information shared. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn? Senator Brown, thank you so much. Is there a second? Senator Elliott, thank you so much. All those in favor of adjourning? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you so much. Don't forget to take a card if you'd like to recognize somebody. Have a great day. See you in November.